think you just come in here and not subscribe and not like? Let's go right there at the bottom of the video. Go ahead, you two, and the guy hiding in the back. I see you. Come over here. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Welcome to the Feta Fammm, everyone. I'm George. This is Malaka MotorSports. We're going to be working on the RS3, fine-tuning the Cybex ECU base file along with the tuner that we've selected, which we'll get into later on in this video. But first, we need to do a few things. As we're still on the stock block, as you see, we're assembling in the corner there. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'll try to see if I can turn it. You see in the last video, we pretty much got all the bits ready to go on a pallet to ship off to the machine shop. The only thing I'm waiting now is the 1/2-inch head studs. So this is where we can package it all on a pallet, saran wrap it, package it up, send it out. So I've opted to go with a 1/2-inch head stud on the built R30 block. Anyway, long story short, we're waiting on that. But in the meantime, I'd like to refine this car a little bit so I can drive around a little bit easier, maybe throw a little bit of boost at it, as I really haven't gotten into boost in the last couple videos at all. It's a stock block cast internal, no ARP hardware, nothing. Usually the VR guys do a head spacer, and if they don't do a head spacer, at least they throw ARP, rod bolts on there or hardware on the mains, maybe even ARP head studs, and they throw a little bit of boost at it. But I do want to throw some boost at it. I want to be able to just drive the car in boost, make sure everything works, make sure the transmission is up to par. We did disassemble it and reassemble it here on this channel. We want to just make sure everything's good leading up to making power. So with that being said, we're going to have to take the cap off our Tile MVR 44 gate. It's already springless pretty much, and I completely forgot. So I've been driving around with the wastegate stuck open. So even if I wanted to make boost, and I was wondering why it was a little loud in the front of the engine bay. Yeah, not my finest moment. So learn from me. Definitely don't rush things and forget things, but we're going to have to install a spring here. Probably going to push about maybe 5 or 8 pounds on this block, maybe maximum. I might just throw a 5-pound spring. We have the tile chart that I'll show you guys a screenshot of that we're going to be using. As I'm going through this video, let me know, taking a look at this chart, what do you think we should throw at this car? Obviously, I'm not going to throw anything more than 10. On a cast internal, a motor that never came boosted. The VR just wasn't equipped, at least the older VRs, and I'm not talking about the new 2.5 VR6s that came in China, didn't come with any forged internals like a lot of the turbocharged engines. Non-turbocharged engines didn't get all the bells and whistles. We did, however, get a forged crank, which is pretty cool, but the rods, the pistons, a no-go for boost as far as being ready to take on 20, 30, 40 pounds of boost, So that being said, I think I'm going to go anywhere between a 5 to maybe an 8-pound spring. Let me know in the comments below what you think I should go with or what you think I should have gone with. But I'm going to take off this cap, get this ready. We also have to install the boost solenoid that's stav wired up already. So the 4-port Mac valve. So I'm going to be throwing quick disconnect fittings on here. And we're going to be running quick disconnect lines on and plugging this in. So this way the tuner, when he logs in here in the next few hours, just to kind of fine tune some things, he's able to see that we have a boost controller. He's able to see that pretty much all the sensors that we have installed are reading, and then maybe even help calibrate, such as the oil temperature sensor that we installed in the last video. So instead of reading 319 degrees when it's really just at idle, or reading nothing, we can actually get it calibrated and it'll read on the dash an accurate number. But the cool thing is Cybex does read it on the dash. That being said, let's just get started. I'll show you guys as I'm taking off this cap, and then we'll install and run some vacuum lines for the Mac valve, the 4-port, and then we'll get this thing ready for boost. We'll get this thing ready for some logs and driving around and refining things, maybe even helping the sound. As you guys heard while I was revving in the last video, it was a little choppy. So I'm looking to just help refine things. This way I'm able to drive this car around without it sounding like a tractor. Even though as a tractor, the VR6 does sound amazing and a lot better than the 5-cylinder setup that I have. I'm sorry, I have to say the VR6 is just between 0 and 8,000 RPM. The VR6 sound-wise and power-wise has it hands down. So let's refine this. Let's get a good spring in here. This way we make a little bit of boost. We'll start logging the car. We'll start getting it tuned, start making some noises. I'll even put a little video showing you guys what's happening on the laptop as we're refining it. And that's it. Let's get to it. So it says in the spring pressure chart, the lowest pressure is going to be the red spring, which I've taken out of the box. And the cool thing about Tile is that they include pretty much all the springs you'll need in a gate. that goes all the way up to 21.75 psi on the top of the chart. And with the MAC valve, it actually multiplies that. So you can control this, you know, up to and keep that gate shut with vacuum pressure in that MAC valve up to whatever pressure you need, double that, 40, 50, 60 psi, depending on your setup. But again, I'm not looking to make much boost. Even if we just have it on wastegate pressure, I want to just be able to make a nominal amount. So I'm looking at the lowest one. It says red is going to be 4.35 psi. All right, so the vacuum lines are in. We plumbed the MAC valve in. I'll show you the diagram that we use for the 4-port setup on a single turbo. We got it in. We even had the extra little thermal wrap. We ended up rewrapping, doubling it on the bottom and the top of the port of the gate, running the MAC valve behind the intake there in the corner, so it's nice and hidden. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we still need to tuck and clean up, but wastegate spring is in, vacuum lines, everything run to the compressor housing of the turbo, so she won't see anything from the intake manifold. Now, all that vacuum pressure, more or less, is going to come right off the turbine on the compressor cover. So the gate should open and close, and then digitally speaking, we'll get the tuner to make sure that the MAC valve is reading, make sure stop wire right. But I anticipate we're gonna have some fun with the car tomorrow, smoothing this car out, cleaning it up. And again, I started off this episode finding that I just threw on my wastegate with no spring, so it was open all the time. So it was actually leaking exhaust the entire time. So maybe the sound of the car will change. I imagine it's going to now that we're going to be refining the software and the tuning. I'm going to be driving, doing logs. So I'm hoping it sounds better. You know, obviously I talked about in the last video, we're going to be changing the exhaust out to a single 4-inch going all the way out to the back with a single muffler on there, probably a Delta 40 Flowmaster with no glass pack. Same thing I have in my S4. But this should clean things up. I'm actually excited to see what it sounds like. So it is now 4 o'clock in the morning, been burning the midnight oil after work. I work nights, came here, started working in the garage. Tuner says he wants to link up sometime around 10:30 to 11 o'clock in the morning. So I'm gonna go shower, knock out, and I'll be back here in a matter of 2 seconds with the tuner logged in with the car idling and seeing what he can kind of change up, what he sees. Maybe he sees something that we messed up. Maybe something's not reading correctly and we need to fix it. But we gotta progress on. We gotta refine this car, get it driving better. And if everything goes well, I'll be taking this car to work with me tonight. Just for a nice second maiden voyage to see what it sounds like, what it feels like, maybe throwing a little bit of boost at it. Again, we threw the, 8-pound spring, more or less, but with a 4-port MAC valve, you're able to multiply that by 4. Obviously, we're not going to be throwing 20 plus PSI at this car, but that's the kind of cool thing about using the MAC valve and using the 4-port, as you don't have to have a really heavy-duty spring in there. You can run a 4 or 5-pound spring and still make 20 pounds of boost, if not more, depending on the way your manifold's set up. Anyway, let me knock out, and I'll be back here in just a second or two, and we'll get this car fired up.
So now that we got the configs all done, now all the sensors, the temp sensors, pressure, everything is reading correctly. Now we got the car idling correct. We were having a little issue getting the car to idle, but you know, just basically figuring out the software in Cyvex. But now that we figured it out, we went from a 16.4 AFR down to 14.7 idling. George is gonna go out and do some driving logs now. And you know, do some live tuning. So basically we'll get the car running correctly and you know, make sure that everything is 100% correct before we throw a built motor in this thing and we realize, you know, one of the sensors was not configured correctly, you know, the car's stumbling, we have an injector issue. We want to make sure we iron everything out on this $200 motor before we put a $10,000 engine in it, you know?
So we noticed while driving, especially with the ambient temperatures climbing up to about 110 degrees outside, that the oil temp started climbing too. And I did just throw on my B5S4 Mocal oil cooler. It's a 19-row. Used it for street driving. It was great, but this was on a 2.8 liter. On the 3.2, I imagine it generates a lot more heat. You know, it's a larger displacement engine. So we ended up going with a 30-row that just arrived, and we're going to be slapping this on the passenger side. I'll show you guys in just a second. But we're going from a 19-row to essentially a 30-row to help cool that oil down. And we're not even throwing a lot of boost at this car or a lot of power, but you know, I do live in a very hot climate. Temperatures do get up there. I do idle a lot. I like to daily drive this car a lot, pretty much anywhere that I can, especially on the old setup. I like to do the same on the built VR6 when we get the built motor in there. So we're ensuring now that everything is going to be acceptable. Everything's going to last. Everything's going to work. So this is the development of the car, getting things on there to support what we're looking to do here in the future with the car. So we're going to throw it on to the passenger side here. So it's going to go right here. I'm just draining all the lines real quick into the oil pan, and then I'm going to throw that 30 row on there. Make sure that you know, the oil stays pretty, you know, consistent as far as with the heat. You know, and on track days too, in the drag strip, while we're running really hard in the quarter mile or in the half mile, oil temps are going to climb. So better to upgrade this now, make sure it doesn't leak, make sure it actually cools it. With a lot more surface area on a 30 row, I imagine that the cooling, I don't know, 5, 10, even if it's 5 or 10 degrees, it should be a lot better than what we had before on the old Mocal. So again, 19 row versus 30 row, and we're going to slap it on the car now and get some driving footage. With it being smoothened out now and the base file being actually somewhat tuned, the car actually sounds like a VR, as before it was really rough. The last 2 videos that we put out there, a lot of people comment, it doesn't sound like a VR at all. Well, it was really, again, like I said as a disclaimer, do not drive and do what I do on a base file. It was not meant to be driven. So again, Ryan from Cyvex kind of hooked us up on just making a file so we can start it up here inside the garage. But for driving, we needed an actual tuner to go in there and smoothen things out. So she sounds like a VR, even though it's straight pipe now with the integrated engineering catback. We're going to be changing that with a true 4-inch going out from turbo back, with a nice muffler on that to kind of keep it nice and street suitable for driving, because the straight pipe just gets a little too ridiculous. But we'll clean it up just like we have it on my S4, just like on Stav's B5, with running a nice, like, let's say a Flowmaster Delta 40, 4-inch in and out, and help clean things up throughout the rev range. So let's throw the oil cooler on. We'll get some driving footage so you guys can hear the car, some revving so you guys can hear the difference. But definitely night and day difference from what it sounded before, like an old tractor that wasn't tuned, as to now with the 3.2 liter with some refinements and being driven around on some logs and having a tuner go in there and change some things. So let's get to that. Not much, just a little bit. Don't want to hurt the car. Again, stock block, cast internal VR. Downshifting works pretty good. Transmission seems to be working really smooth. It's like it doesn't even know it's engine swapped, aside from actually idles and drives and sounds like a VR. Before it was so rough. Again, you're not supposed to drive on a base file like I was. I was stupid. I am stupid, but I am cruising around now on a smoothened out base file. Been driving it for the past week. We've been looking at spark plugs, coil packs. We had a small misfire issue on signal wires that we had to swap around real quick on cylinder 1 and 2. Again, minor stuff when it comes to custom engine swaps inside of cars that were never meant to get them in to begin with. Straight pipe is still very loud. You can hear it, but now you hear that VR rumble. Now you start to hear it come through. And we've been throwing about 10, maybe 10, 14 pounds of boost at it, give or take. Just hit about about 15, let off of it. Again, stock internal, cast internal VR6 3.2. Don't want to throw a lot of boost at it, but we know the car's working. It's smooth. I don't have the TPMS sensors for the tires installed. I'll throw those in. But other than that, everything works. CarPlay, everything in the menu electronically. The dashboard fully works. No like errors or anything like that when it comes to relating to check engine lights or transmission failures. Again, everything works. You can swap between all the menus. You know, you can switch this out. You can go to full map. Full map view still works. So if you still wanted to use Google Maps or just the map section on the car, you can still do that. Which is kind of cool because with the B5S4, again, the technology was so much older, it wasn't possible. So now at least with this stuff, we're able to get this all coded and dialed in, and it's working just like a factory RS3. A small little private road here. I'm gonna turn this thing around, put the camera up so this way you guys can hear it, rev her a little bit. But I think we got a little section of road just for us, just so you guys can hear this car. Then it's not too windy, luckily. The wind's been kind of died down. But let's throw the camera in the back and see what she sounds like. With it, oil temps seem to be like 15 to 20 degrees cooler now. Mind you, it is nighttime, so I'll have to drive the car during the day to really see how well the oil cooler upgrade really fared out to be. But so far, I'm really happy with the way the car's been driving. You know, there's a lot of people in the RS3 world never build their own cars. These guys have gone to shops like I have, you know, but never really done any private projects to really know what it's like to build one of these cars from the ground up. So just understand, you know, there's baby steps when it comes to this stuff. Making sure that the car drives good, making sure that the car shifts good, feels good, sounds good electronically. You know, the dashboard is, you know, satisfactory, that everything's going to work perfectly, or at least, you know, instead of being perfect, at least to the best of my ability, you know, that we're able to do stuff with cars. Oh, I got to drive past some people walking their dogs. I don't want to scare the dogs with the sound of the car. Family walking with their dogs and stuff, and I don't want to like scare the crap out of their pooches. But you know, it feels great to drive the car, to be able to move around. There's people still building their 5-cylinder cars a year into it, 2 years, 3 years into it, still haven't been to the strip, still haven't driven the car. I've enjoyed the RS3 just cruising around with it with the VR, even though it has that annoying straight pipe, which is pretty loud. I do enjoy driving it. It sounds amazing. The VR6 has a very unique tone to it. There's a reason why we opted to do this swap, especially in the RS3 with the transmission and using this motor. Could we have stuffed an LS motor in here? Probably. Could have cut up a lot of stuff and dropped in an LS here to make some really crazy power, or maybe even a V10, who knows. But the VR6 is our motor. We're really comfortable with it. We know it really well, or at least we know it more than any other motor that we've been dealing with, and we wanted to do it. No one else has done an RS3 VR6 swap in the world. You know, people have taken A3s and converted the chassis into an LMS wide body and dropped the VR in it, but no one's actually yanked a 5-cylinder in an RS3, new RS3 anyway, and swapped in a VR to work with the new gen transmission and the dashboard and all the goodies and luxuries that normally come in these cars. As you can see, the car's not stripped. I got the rear top seats out, the passenger seat is out. That's the extent of how gutted this car is. Other than that, it's basically just like your regular everyday RS3, except number one, it sounds better, and it's gonna have a lot more power potential. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. You let me know, does the car sound better now that it's got some tuning under it? I think so. I think it sounds about 50 to 60% better. I think I still need to get rid of that straight pipe and throw in a nice muffled 4-inch system, like a not MagnaFlow. I was gonna go with a Flowmaster Delta 40, same one that I have on the S4, like I showed you guys in the last video. But that's what we're gonna be doing on these cars. So you tell me, do you like the way the car sounds now? Does it sound more civilized, like a true VR? I think so. You tell me what you think in the comments below. But other than that, guys, we're gonna continue on with the development in this car. We're waiting for 1/2-inch head studs to come in so we can send that built motor out. Oh my God, windy. Let me close this window up a little bit. We're gonna wait for the 1/2-inch head studs to come in so we can shoot that motor out to the machine shop. And then hopefully we have a built motor, built VR6 R30 in this car in the next 30 to 60 days tops. Within the next few weeks, we're gonna continue to develop the car. We're gonna redo the exhaust system so you guys can hear it with the new 4-inch system with the twin exit in the back with that Flowmaster Delta 40. There might be some other little upgrades we're gonna be doing to the engine bay. Maybe something like a little bit more substantial catch can system. We're gonna have an episode on that. We're gonna be working on Stav's car. As you guys know, Stav kind of put his car off on ice to help me get this thing off the road and wire it. He's been spending day and night on this car, on the electrical wiring, working with Cybex, working with Turbo Joe, and making sure everything is running tip top. So we should have some more content for his B5 coming soon to the channel. But other than that, guys, I hope you really enjoyed it. If you have, hit that like, hit that subscribe. It really helps us, doesn't cost you anything. And it allows us, it enables us to keep making more videos like this and enough, do things bigger and better in the future. So without further ado, guys, I'm George. This is Malaka Motorsports. And I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Truly, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna drive back, park up this car, and yank this exhaust system so we can start making the 4-inch system. Catch you guys on the next video, guys. Love you guys. Thank you. Little bit of boost. Please don't blow up. Please don't blow up, stock VR. Please don't blow up. Oh, pops and bangs. There's still a little there. We got to get rid of it. Catch you guys in the next video, guys. Bye.